Hello there, it's Luke, and this tutorial is to introduce you to some of the main players involved in an allergic reaction. We're going to be talking about antibodies, immunoglobulins, B cell lymphocytes, and mast cells. Okay, so first of all, this is hopefully going to be a bit of revision, or hopefully an introduction to some of the basic terminology. So we're going to think about antigens, which are small foreign particles or molecules which might stimulate your body to initiate an immune response. And as part of that, you have antibodies, which are proteins produced by your body to interact with the antigens. And in doing so, when the antibody binds with the antigen, it stimulates a response which hopefully gets rid of the antigen that may be causing a problem for your body. Okay, so one of the principal actors in your adaptive immune system is a B cell lymphocyte. There are others, notably T helper cells, but we're just introducing the sort of most basic actors in this particular tutorial. And what happens is these B cells have antibodies attached to their cell membranes, and when the specific antibody that matches with a particular antigen, when those two things combine, then the B cell produces and releases lots of copies of the particular antibody that is present on its membrane. Now, again, to clarify a bit of terminology, antibodies are also referred to as immunoglobulins. They're the same thing, and there are 5 different types of immunoglobulin. They will all interact with the cells of your immune system in slightly different ways. Okay, now the particular immunoglobulin antibody that we're thinking about when we think about allergic reactions, anaphylactic reactions, is IgE. So the antigens in this particular situation are referred to as allergens. So they bring about an allergic response, and an allergen will bind with an immunoglobulin E, and that will stimulate an allergic response. And an allergen may include particles of foods or latex, stings, or some medications, famously penicillin, and perhaps also tiger plague and things like that. So what happens once we have one of these immunoglobulin E's binding with an allergen? Well, they then go on to bind with a type of immune cell called a mast cell. And the thing about mast cells is that they are full of these sort of small collections, or called granules, that are full of mediators, and these mediators will sort of help direct and signal and bring about the various physiological changes that we would recognize as an immune, or in this case, an allergic response. And some of the key ones to be aware of, so there's our mast cell degranulating, in this instance are histamine, prostaglandins and leukotrienes, which are sort of manufactured sort of on request, if you like, when stimulated by one of these immunoglobulins. And there's also various different signaling molecules. Now, histamine is probably the sort of main actor, if you like, in an immune response. There are others, and this very helpful diagram from Reber et al., I hope I pronounced that correctly, sort of points out all the different systems and manifestations of an allergic response. And many of these, as you can see, are histamine related, although you can see the blue right in there. There's it sort of marks out cis LTs. Well, that's a sort of shorthand for the leukotrienes, which are another sort of mediator. PAF is plasma platelet activating factor. But the main thing we need to concentrate on is that these mast cells release histamine, and many of the symptoms and signs of an allergic reaction are due to that histamine, so they're histamine mediated responses. So, in summary, allergic reactions are mediated by antibodies, specifically immunoglobulin E. B-cell lymphocytes produce immunoglobulin E in response to binding with a specific antigen. Immunoglobulin E, when bound with an allergen, will then bind with the receptors on the mast cell, causing release of lots of inflammatory mediators, perhaps most importantly, histamine. Thank you very much for listening.